Welcome to the Lived Experience Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Tamia Ryan, and today we're talking about the topic of burnout and moving from burnout to purpose. I'm excited to have as our special guest, Dr. Siobhan France. We'll be getting into the challenges of burnout and discover how one can find meaning and purpose in the face of adversity. So thank you so much, Dr. France, for joining us today. Dr. France has a background as a physical therapist for over 11 years, and she overcame burnout early in her career by venturing into the world of entrepreneurship and establishing her first business. She's been driven by a commitment to personal growth, and she's also reached out to others and helps offer her expertise to coach and mentor them into starting their own businesses and launching their own careers as well and developing their personal brand. So get ready to dive into the topic of moving out of burnout and finding your purpose.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here.
Thank you. I'm excited to have you on and talk about this topic because I think, especially since COVID, this is just a topic of discussion in many people's lives, professionally and personally. And so let's just get right into it. Can you share a little bit about your personal experiences and your journey in moving through burnout?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to keep it as real, raw, and 100 because I think there's so much sugarcoating around what we're really experiencing, whether you work in healthcare or any other field. It's a disheartening space, and I think so many don't have words. But the truth of it is, I was burnt out 1 year into my career. I have a doctorate degree in physical therapy. I decided when I was 5 years old that I was going to be a physical therapist because my mom had a stroke when I was 5 and she was 29. And I remember going to physical therapy with her. And I was like, this is cool. I'm going to grow up and I'm going to be just like Tammy. Tammy was my mom's physical therapist. And so both my parents immigrated here from Trinidad to give my brother and I a better life. And education is the creme de la creme. You go to school, you get a good job, and you go off and you go do the thing. And so I said, well, I'm going to be a physical therapist. My mom really encouraged me because healthcare is such a safe profession and everyone's going to be injured and you're always going to be in need. And so I was so excited to help people. I was so excited to help people regain their physical mobility. And, school was hard to get through, but I was like, this is the thing I'm supposed to do. I'm going to help a lot of people. 1 year, literally, into my career, I woke up one day and I said, this cannot be my life. It's exactly what I said.
Uh-huh.
I remember as a little girl having a very distinct feeling of what it was going to be like for me to do work in this world and help people. And 1 year of being a treating physical therapist, I was like, I don't feel like that. I don't feel like how I thought I was supposed to feel. And I'm doing the thing. I knew I wanted to be a PT, and I started to question just about everything in that moment. And so I recognized, one, I was struggling with burnout, and two, that this wasn't my purpose. And I was supposed to help people, but just not in this way. So waking up that day and saying to myself, this cannot be my life, honestly, changed the entire trajectory of what I thought I was supposed to be doing. It looks completely different now.
And thank you for sharing that. We have a lot to unpack in what you shared. First, can you please give your definition? Because we hear a lot about finding your purpose, right? We see it out there, especially a lot on social media, but I'm not sure people are always clear on exactly what that means. Can you define for those listening what that looks like for you in finding your purpose?
Yes. So I personally believe that there is an intersection between our skill sets, our lived experience, our God-given gifts. And within that intersection, we have our zone of genius, which is our purpose. And so for me, and for many of my clients, that honestly has looked like the thing that they're supposed to do in this world that not only contributes to how they feel on a commitment level, on a fulfillment level, like it gives them the feeling, but it also serves within the world. And one of the things I'm starting to really understand is we are all interdependent. And so what I'm good at, you're not good at. And what you're good at, I'm not good at. And that is actually the point, because my purpose serves you in some way. Your purpose serves me in some way. And even if it's not in a direct connection, you're going to help somebody who's going to help somebody who's going to help somebody who then could turn around and help me. And then I'm going to help somebody who helps somebody who helps somebody that could turn around and help you. And so I think once we start to understand that we have a function on this planet, that is our purpose. Now we don't need to compare ourselves and why someone else is good at something, or we don't need to try to take on someone else's persona and go do that, because they have the gifts, the skills, the lived experience to be good at that thing, and you have your own. And then when we come together, now we serve each other. So I do believe there is this intersection of the things we're good at and the things we're passionate about that come together to make our purpose.
Thank you for that. And I totally agree with that. And I feel like what happens is we get in our careers, and sometimes, as you realize, our career isn't aligning with what we have discovered our purpose is.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about what burnout looks like for people? Because I think there's also misconceptions about that too. We have our days sometimes where we're just feeling like, okay, I'm not feeling it today. And then we have burnout. What are the differences of sort of that continuum?
Yeah. Burnout is multifactorial. And there are so many things that contribute to burnout. And it's expressed differently in everyone, but I've noticed that there are very common themes. And it's interesting because one of the common themes that people start to recognize is they start saying things like, I know I'm made for more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is a very core concept that people who are, I don't like the word struggling because that's not a word that I use in my vocab anymore, but people who are challenged by their career or their profession, it starts with thinking, believing, and knowing I'm made for more. And when we're not getting that more component fed within us in our career, that's when we start on that burnout journey. And so then that looks like we're tired, we're not feeling fulfilled, we're very disconnected from our job, we're trying to get through the day as fast as possible. We're coming home and we're not spending time with our spouses and, significant others. We're detached. We feel sluggish. We don't have a sense of community or feeling as though we're really contributing. And so it feels like a sense of loss. And we're trying to band-aid that by going to get our nails done and going to get our feet done and self-care and spa days. And in my personal opinion, those are band-aids. And so if you cut an artery, you're bleeding out and you put a band-aid on it, that ain't going to help you. And so I think it starts to spiral into that, but it's an internal feeling of there's got to be more out there. And when we're not feeding that, it can take a whole different toll externally. And now we're hopping from job to job to job, or we are kind of numbing how we feel by looking on social media and getting distracted. And so we're feeling very disconnected from ourselves, and we don't feel like we have commitment. We don't feel like we've got purpose, and we don't feel like we're actually contributing, and we're not playing to our true strengths. The thing that we feel like we're called to do, it's like, I'm not using all of me.
Yes. And I think back to when we first connected and did our sort of vibe check prior to recording. And I had mentioned, I'd love for you to talk about sort of, surviving through burnout. And you had a totally different perspective because you said, wait a minute. We're not going to talk about surviving. We're going to talk about how to thrive.
Yes.
And I think that's such a great shift of perspective to have, because a lot of us are operating on this survival mindset, which keeps us stuck. We're just, okay, I'm going to take a vacation. We come back from the vacation more stressed out than we were than when we
Mhm.
left, because the work is still there, the stress is still there. Nothing has changed. We just left out of state or went to a different city for a few days, but nothing has changed in our work environment. And so a lot of us, as you mentioned, we're trying to distract ourselves from the root problem that is happening.
Mhm.
Can you share a little bit about what change you made in your life? You woke up that day, you said, hey, there's got to be more. Take us through those next steps.
It's one of those things where you could be on the fence about your life for a really long time. And when you're on the fence, you don't get any answers. The first step was me saying, this cannot be my life. And I made an internal decision that something had to change. Now, I think oftentimes people try to choose. Choosing something means you pick one. Either I'm going to choose to do something different or I'm going to choose to stay where I'm at, but let me see if I can figure it out. And it's like we choose to think we want to change, but yet we're staying the same. And so I didn't make a choice that my life was going to change. I made a decision that my life was going to change. And I was dating this guy at the time. Literally within a couple of weeks, he said, hey, there's an event coming up. It's an internet marketing event. I know I told you I've always going to make money with computers, and I think this is my chance. You want to go? Me being the supportive girlfriend, I was like, of course I'll go. Like, of course I'm going to support you. So the event owner was doing a 2-for-1 ticket deal or whatever. And so I was like, yeah, I'll go. So we go. And honestly, that drastically changed the trajectory of my life. I have not looked back since. That started my journey of entrepreneurship and still finding my purpose within entrepreneurship. And what happened at that event was I learned everything there was to know about online marketing. When I say everything, I mean everything. It was how to build an audience, how to start creating funnels, how to send out automatic emails. I mean, everything you could really think of was packed in this 3-day event.
Mm-hmm.
And we ran, I literally mean ran to the back of the room to sign up for this year-long mastermind that they were having. So, at the end of an event, they sell the thing. And we
Mm-hmm.
bought the thing. And we probably should have been disqualified, I'll be honest. We took out a massive loan to be able to invest in this, but we were
Mm-hmm.
newbies. And we were newbies and we were hungry. We were both hungry. We were both hungry for a shift. And so I didn't have a level of discernment that I have now because I was
Mm-hmm.
very brand new to the online marketing space, new to selling. And I'm not upset about that investment because, yes, we made money. I mean, I was making more money within a few months, more money than I was making in my PT job within a
Wow.
few months. I mean, we took massive action. I was ignorance on fire. But what ended up
Mm-hmm.
happening was how I got started. I recognized that still wasn't my purpose. I was told to monetize my degree. I was told to start teaching people rehab and exercises. And I basically was doing virtual physical therapy and creating products. I
Mm-hmm.
launched my first book. I mean, we were doing all the things. And what I found through that was there was still something that didn't feel like was connected to me. Like this
Right.
still wasn't the purpose. This still wasn't the thing. And so I pivoted because we had guidance on a strategic level and a business level, but we didn't have guidance on a personal, emotional level that comes with growing a business. And there's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You got to change your identity in a much different way. And so I pivoted and I ventured into the network marketing space because my mom had had a stroke and I found, or actually I didn't find, but a company found me, a health company that was all about cellular health and activation. And I thought, man, maybe this is why my mom had a stroke because
Mm-hmm.
all this stuff was going on internally that we couldn't see. And this product is so helpful. And I started building an amazing team and making money and coaching my team. And then through that, I found my love of coaching. Through that, I recognized I have a knack for being able to help build someone else up because I'd had
Mm-hmm.
experience in the online marketing world. I had built a couple of different ventures and that was making money. And when it came to helping my team, I thought, man, I'm really instilling this, but I wonder if I could do this on a bigger scale, not just with my team. And
Mm-hmm.
so now, August of 20 August of 2021, I had a breakup and I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to go all in on this coaching thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then December of 2021 is when I said, I'm putting my stake in the ground and I'm helping women in healthcare find their purpose through business and
Mm-hmm.
allowing that to be the vehicle. So, all of that to say, I have had 3 iterations of myself and business online, and
Mm-hmm.
it took me weaving and bobbing to figure it out. But what I can offer to your listeners is that the reason why my journey was so windy is because I had yet not discovered how to trust myself.
Yeah.
And so I was trusting in other people about what I should do and what my business should be and how I needed to go about things. And it wasn't until I started to deploy higher levels of trust within myself, even though it didn't make sense, even though it didn't look like what other people were doing, that's when I actually started to see more success. So I found my knack here within the coaching space, helping women create businesses and brands online that monetize whether they're clinical skills or they're non-clinical skills.
I like your description of a windy road because I
Mm,
think when we're sort of making that decision on, okay, I need to make a change. I need to make a decision right now because I can't continue to go on like this. There's a level of risk that's involved. And I talked about this with a previous guest that risk can be scary when
mhm.
you are trying to tap into your purpose. How did you balance that? Or what advice would you give those who are on the fence?
The thing that helped me the most, stay in the game and not throw in the towel because it was hard, hard,
Mm-hmm.
was proximity. I had established proximity very early in my entrepreneurial journey. And what I mean by that is I was in rooms with people making multiple 6 figures, 7 figures, and doing amazing things. My Rolodex of entrepreneurs was beyond my wildest dreams. Numbers in my phone that people have now asked me, how did you get access to that? How do you know this
Mm-hmm.
person? And I didn't recognize what I had stumbled upon when we joined into that mastermind. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
I didn't recognize the importance of proximity back then. But because I saw it and I'd had some success, I was able to stay in the game. So that's the first thing I'm going to tell somebody is establish proximity with people who are doing the thing you want to do. And I don't just mean watch them online and
Mm-hmm.
wonder. I mean, reach out, send them a message. Do they have a low end product that you could purchase that allows you to start stimulating your mindset on what direction you can go into? And I don't recommend necessarily coming out the game and investing big bucks. But are there smaller programs that you can invest into to be in proximity with that person and how that person thinks? So you can start to catch wind for yourself. That's the first thing. And the second thing is when you have established proximity with a group of people that are actually moving, not just talking about it, but actually moving
Mm-hmm.
and have what you desire to have, you start to recognize it's so much scarier to not take action. And so there's a point where it looks scary to take action and take a quote unquote risk. But when you really are around the people doing the thing, you start to recognize, man, if I don't move, where I'm at right now is way scarier than me taking an
Right.
action. It's way scarier than the few $1,000s I might spend to learn something.
Mm-hmm.
Because the truth of the matter is, we're willing to spend our money on college degrees. I've got fancy letters behind my name that mean nothing to no one but
Mm-hmm.
me. And I don't even practice in the field anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like you got to recognize it is so scary to stay put. And we are
Yes.
actually made and designed for growth. And if we're not growing, we are perpetuating our own death a lot faster.
And the stress, physical, emotional, mental, that comes with that. As you mentioned, it may feel safer to stay stuck, but quickly you'll start seeing a decline. You'll start seeing that
Mm-hmm.
disconnection in the workplace. And as you mentioned, it trickles into your personal life, right?
Yeah.
We spend most of our day, in our work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to impact us on that personal level as well. And I know you mentioned that exploring or expanding your own business may not always be your purpose. Or what has been your experience in sort of working with individuals who are experiencing burnout?
So I'm the first to say entrepreneurship ain't for everybody. It
Hmm.
really isn't. It looks very glamorous online. It looks like people just popping up and being like, oh, look, I made my first 10K in 5 days. And everyone's like, oh my gosh. Like, it looks like that, but we need to have context when we're
Hmm.
looking at entrepreneurship. And what I have found personally, the women I work with, they actually desire to be in entrepreneurship.
Okay.
And they have already recognized that they're not going to get what they want through a job. I work with thought leaders and women who have a calling and they can feel it, but they don't know how to monetize it.
Hmm.
And so that is when they step into entrepreneurship and they establish the lifestyle of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is a lifestyle. There is like a no going back to
Right.
whatever we were doing before, right? And
Hmm.
so the women who have hopped from job to job, who have consistently felt unfulfilled, when they step into that role of entrepreneurship, even though it's hard, they're like, there's nothing else I would rather do. Because there
Hmm.
is a sense of liberation that happens in doing the hard, but there's a sense of liberation in knowing that your purpose is being out there in this world in a certain way with however you're helping people with your business and your skills. That sense of purpose makes people go, this is it. Like, this is
Hmm.
exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And it wasn't something that they were ever going to be able to find in a job.
What advice would you give listeners who are in a current position, and instead of surviving, what advice would you give them to help them thrive?
I- I'm going to be real honest.
Hmm.
I don't know why they can't make that move. Because here's the thing. We often go, entrepreneurship means I got to quit my 9 to 5. I do not recommend that.
Okay.
Entrepreneurship does not mean I'm going to start my business tomorrow. And so that means I got to also quit my job. No, 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 no. No, 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 no,
Hmm.
no. You build your entrepreneurial journey and your business alongside your job.
Hmm.
That means that you need to have a business model that supports you being able to do that. And honestly, you can build a solid business gradually over time in 1 to 2 hours every single day, as long as you know the business model that you're building and you know the exact task that you need to do every single day in order to move your business forward. Because the truth is, most
Hmm.
people are spending their time figuring it out. Spending your time figuring it out isn't building a business. You need to
Right.
establish a model. You need to establish who it is you're going to serve in the marketplace and establish your skill set to know, well, how does your skill set solve a problem in the marketplace? Once you know that, then you can go out there and start attracting your own clientele. You can decide,
Hmm.
I'm going to create a product. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to work with clients online. I'm going to work with clients offline. There's so many things that you can do while
Hmm.
you are still working. And so I have found that there isn't a reason we actually can't take a leap. And I
Right.
say even taking a leap makes it seem like it's so far away. The thing
Hmm.
you should get started with is, who can you help? Who can you serve? and what problem can you solve for them? That's it. That's actually where you start. Once you know that, then you can go out there and start building out how you're going to build your audience and get in front of people. Whether it's Facebook, it's Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, you start a podcast, you start doing a lot of guest podcasting. There's different ways for you to start attracting people to you that isn't going to take from you. And what I found is that it's this mental minutia that is taking up space to make you feel like you can't.
Right.
To make you feel as though, well, I can't take that leap right now. My question is, why not? Can you afford to stay where you are? Because the truth is if you had a blueprint and you had an actual layout of what to do, then it can be a plug and play system while you develop yourself personally, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, as you go through this process. So I don't know if I have a good answer for you on what to tell people if they can't, because I don't believe that.
And I love that because, again, it goes back to what you said earlier, that it's trusting in yourself.
Yes.
And so every day, if you're just taking small steps every day, now you start to build some confidence. You're like, okay, 6 months ago, I didn't know what I was doing. Now I've got this set up. Now I've got this next on the agenda. So part of that is learning about yourself through this too, I believe.
Yes.
And so
yes. Entrepreneurship is a trap. It's a trap for personal development. If you don't want to know about yourself, do not go into entrepreneurship. It is not for you. Like, you are going to have to face the parts of you that you could never discover in a job.
Right.
You are on autopilot at a job. And this sounds so sad to say, but even in the healthcare field, we become on autopilot because we've become so good at our job. We don't even have to think anymore about how we're treating patients because we've gotten so good that it is on autopilot. Whether you work in physical therapy, you're a nurse, occupational therapy, whatever. Yes, you're putting your thinking hat on, but you're in a rhythm now. So you can go to your job and not feel worthy, not feel deserving, not feel confident. You can go to your job and have all of these internal things going on, and it doesn't matter because you're still going to get paid. But in entrepreneurship, we have to have these conversations with ourselves because we have to have a level of conviction and belief and the ability to receive money for our expertise. And it's going to feel challenging because when you're really good at what you do and you are monetizing it online, you're like, well, why should people pay me for this? This feels easy. Well, that's actually the point. It's easy for you because that is your skill. It's not easy for them, which is why they're paying you. And so recognizing that this is a value exchange. You are in a value exchange for the thing you've spent years doing and getting good at that you probably don't even recognize you were super great at it until you put your thinking hat on and say, what can I offer the marketplace? What can I do out here? So entrepreneurship, you are going to find out about yourself. So don't go in if you're not willing to find out.
And be honest with yourself and be vulnerable.
Yes. Truly, truly. And honestly, it doesn't take a long time to build a business. And it doesn't take a long time to make money. It doesn't take a long time to attract clients and sell books and programs and courses or whatever. What takes a long time is becoming the person who believes in themselves, trusts themselves, can make decisions, and can take action. That's the part that takes the time. The business part doesn't take time. And this is why people feel like, well, I can't take action right now. Well, you can. There actually is nothing really stopping you. Like, you could honestly be listening to something at a traffic light when you're listening to a podcast about how to start putting this together. You can listen to a course that somebody has put out that you want to learn from. And so it's like, there's no reason not to. It's the fact that you don't trust yourself to be able to take the action to follow through. That means you actually got to show up now.
There's nothing to fall back on. And so it's that fear that, as you mentioned, keeps us stuck. But, which you said, there's no reason to feel stuck. There's no
Correct.
reason why you can't make the change. It doesn't have to be this monumental change overnight, because that's not realistic most of the time
Right,
anyway,
right,
right?
right.
And so just taking those small steps every day and being committed
Yes.
is what's going to get you there. Yeah.
Yes. I think people are choosing to be in business. I'm like, you don't get to, you don't choose. Because if you're choosing to be in business, that means on the day that it feels really difficult, you can choose not to show up. And that's not
Right.
how business works. And when you're working a job, let's just be honest. We could not feel good. We could have the sniffles. We could have a really poor day. But
Mm-hmm.
guess what? We are showing up. We are showing up.
Mm-hmm.
So if we decided we're going to treat our business as if it's already paying us, very likely we're going to show up differently. We're going to show
Right.
up for our 1 hour a day to build our audience, to interact with people. Maybe we put out a video on YouTube. Maybe we go live on Instagram. Maybe we start a
Mm-hmm.
Facebook group. Maybe we write one chapter of our book or start putting our book together. There's so many things that you can do in 1 hour a day. But that
Mm-hmm.
is also going to make you show up at your job differently, because
Right.
you're going to know that, hey, I'm working on something big. Like, I'm working on
Yes.
something that is really filling my cup. So work becomes less of a challenge or less of this feeling of a burden, because you know while you're at work, you're holding the level of excitement about what you're building when you go home.
Right.
And this is coming to me right now to say, so I'm going to say it for someone listening.
Yes.
If you have children, get your
Mm-hmm.
children involved with what you're doing. Allow them to see that mommy or daddy are how they're working, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can they read a book while you write your book? Can they sit and play and watch you be on camera while you go live for your audience? And if you're
Mm-hmm.
somebody who doesn't, show your kids online, totally fine. I 1,001% respect that. But can
Mm-hmm.
they be around and watching you do it? And say,
Right.
can you give mommy 1 hour? Can you give daddy 1 hour? I'm gonna do this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And get them involved and keep them around. And don't think that building your business means you're taking from them. It's actually how you're going to give to them, because they're going to
Right.
watch you do the thing. Because guess what? You as a parent, you want them to do the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so not using your kids as the excuse to not show up, but it's like, man, this is my reason to show up.
Thank you for speaking on that, because I think that is something that many people feel as a barrier, right? And they feel like, well, I have to stay stuck because I have a family, I have responsibilities, I have this. Yes, but you can also include these other aspects into your life. You don't have to take away from your
Right.
life. You can add on, and sometimes just flipping that perspective can help you feel like, okay, I can do this, right?
Completely. Completely. I've got a client right now. She's a mom of three.
Mm-hmm.
3, 9, and 11. She's a wife. She's a full-time physical therapist and builds her business literally in an hour to an hour and a half daily.
Mm,
And so she doesn't just have one or two, she has three. And
right.
she tells me, she's like, they really keep me going. And they're excited when they see me showing up online and doing the thing. Like, they're proud of mommy.
Right.
Right. And so we've worked out how she brings her kids along in the journey and in the vision, so
Mm-hmm.
that they can start building their vision. And so she's helping them also expand their knowledge, their skills, and showing them what they're capable of.
I love that. And planning it in, because as you mentioned, you can't go into this without a plan, right?
Right.
Planning it in, planning those aspects of your life that are most fearful or most scary to you, and saying, okay, well, this isn't going away, so I need to throw it into the plan or
Mhm,
work
mhm.
around it and how I'm going to include that. Dr. France, I love what you're doing. Thank you for sharing your story. I'd like for you to get your information, your business out to the listeners. Where can they find you? Where can they look you up? How can they contact you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram. I love playing on social media, although I do not spend all my time on there. I do love to play on there.
Yes.
It's DRSIOBHAN. Last name France, like the country, FRANCE. I'm also Siobhan France on Facebook. So you can find me on both of those platforms. I just invite you to DM me. I do have a couple trainings. I've got some passive courses, and I do some one-on-one and some group work. So it really just depends on where you are on your personal journey and what you would
Mm-hmm.
need. And so although I can teach you the business strategy and figuring out exactly what it is you're going to be putting into this world, I want you all to know that I don't do any of that without also helping you become the person who can. And I think that's the part of entrepreneurship that is needed the most, because it's so critical and vital. Because there are some people on their journey that know exactly what to do, but they're not doing it because they haven't yet become the
Mm-hmm.
person. And so I want you to know you're going to get both. So if you're falling into that space right now, I invite you to just DM me, let me know where you are on your journey, and I can let you know what I have available to help you. And if it's not me, I'm not bragging, but like I've really gotten to know some amazing people. And so I'm happy to also refer, because I'm also quick to say, okay, where you are isn't for me, but I know someone
Mm-hmm.
who can help you, because I'm interested in helping you get results, whether it's with me or not.
Thank you. And I'll have your contact information in the podcast description so they can reach out to you, contact you. I encourage those listening to go back and look at this episode again when you're feeling stuck, when you're feeling like, I can't do this. Go back, listen to what Dr. France said for that motivation, for that inspiration. And again, just keep working on your purpose, keep defining yourself. It's okay to reinvent yourself. You're
Yes.
not always going to get it right. And
Yeah.
that's okay. That's why we're in this journey to continue to learn. So thank you so much again, Dr. France. I hope to have you on again in the future. And audience, thank you.